Now, the use of the term alternative facts by Kellyanne Conway, an advisor to US President Donald Trump, has topped this year's worst phrase list. Political doublespeak may have ruled the annual list by the Plain English Foundation, but it also calls out some of 2017's most questionable corporate spin. Well, to tell us more, the Foundation's Executive Director, Dr. Neil James, joins me in the studio now. We have heard the phrase alternative facts, especially as journalists, over and over and over again for the last year or so. I actually think it's become part of the lexicon as well, but you say it's one of the worst phrases ever.
Well, becoming part of the lexicon doesn't mean that we need to really point out the serious ramifications of it. I mean, let's be clear, a fact cannot have an alternative that is also a fact. And when political spin doctors are using terms like alternative fact or instinctive correctness was the other one that the administration used, it's something really very serious about our politics.
But could alternative facts actually mean an alternative point of view?
Well, if it was alternative point of view, it could mean alternative point of view. But an alternative fact means that one fact is not correct and another is correct. Yeah. You can't have an alternative. It's either one is correct and another is not when it comes to facts.
Now, another one, involuntary deboarding, is also on the list of worst phrases. Now, is this a PC way of describing someone being dragged off a plane, as we saw earlier in the year?
Less PC and more corporate spin. I mean, this was United Airlines in the United States that, and the video is really quite extreme, dragging a literally bleeding passenger off a plane. And the company was trying to downplay that, make it sound a lot better than it was. So involuntary deboarding, or a way of coping with what they called the overbook situation.
Right.
And in that case, they're not using plain English because they don't want people, nothing to hear, nothing to see, folks. Move on. We don't want you to notice the fact that we've managed this situation really badly.
Corporate spin, as you say. Now, we've also seen the rise of Franken words, as you mentioned. It's a mashup of words, of course, like garage, which, had a lot of speak, had a lot of play when it came to the same-sex marriage issue as well.
Yeah, that's right. And it's been a notable trend this year, this sort of, we call them Franken words, these Frankenstein words. So you had garage, which was what one of the No campaigners was suggesting be used as an alternative to allowing same-sex couples to marry. But there was also this rather curious quasi, which is
no one had heard of.
Which nobody had really heard of, and then curiously the Australian National Dictionary made it their word of the year in Australia, and the reaction to that was nobody really had used that. And it's of course a blend of Kiwi and Aussie to capture the situation with Barnaby Joyce.
But is there a possibility, though, if you use alternative facts, garage, quasi often enough, it starts to creep into the English language then evolve into something more, I don't know, more modern, and it reflects the sign of our times?
Yeah, look, it does. And of course the language always evolves, so we're not opposed to language changing, but that doesn't mean that we should just let any usage take hold without stopping to think, well, what are the ramifications of that? What are the ramifications of alternative facts becoming an acceptable thing, or the ramifications of being in a post-truth world? I mean, what does that say for our democracy when a politician can seriously stand up and say, no, I wasn't wrong, I was just instinctively correct, or presenting alternative facts? I mean, I really do think it's important, humorous, although some of these terms are, that we do stand up and point out that there is a serious side to calling those in positions of power to account.
Just one last one that I want to point out. Now, the millennials, of course, they're very good at putting a new spin on things, and they're trying to reinvent flatting or sharing a flat by calling it co-living?
Yeah, this is a case of just, and I don't know why, we had a perfectly good word, flatting, or housemates, or, house sharing, but suddenly millennials have a new term for it called co-living.
Well, it's very cool. You can't co-living, isn't it?
But if we've got a term that is well established and exists really well, the thing is that it's trying to make that whole thing sound as if it is something extra special, and it's just what it it always was when when we were housemates and sharing flats in
Just
our
sharing
day
a
as
flat,
well.
sharing dirty kitchens and bathrooms. That's all it is.
Same dirty kitchens and bathrooms, yes. Or as one real estate ad put it not long ago, a socially conducive kitchen.
Oh, I like that.
That means that you can reach the kitchen sink from the dining room table.
That's good. Neil, it's great talking to you. Thank you so much for coming in.
Been a pleasure.
Dr. Neil James, the Executive Director of Plain English.